Hello everybody, this is AK. I'm back. So I have another video. I produced a 10 minutes video on REITs, my updated perspective on REITs, and that's going live at 8 p.m. But I suddenly thought of doing an extra video, this video, because I also produce many videos on how interest rates are staying higher for longer, and more importantly, how interest rates might actually go even higher in 2024 next year. So just in case that all these videos put together, including the one coming up at 8 p.m., give people the impression that I'm very pessimistic about REITs now and that I'm abandoning boat and all that kind of thing, right? That's not the case. And I'm still very much invested in REITs, okay? Even though I've moved away from a portfolio that's very REITs heavy, starting in 2016, like I said before, I'm still very much invested in REITs. I think my entire exposure to REITs, all the REITs put together in my portfolio, accounts for around 40% of my portfolio. So that's quite big, right? And that's bigger than my exposure to DBS, OCBC, and UOB put together, which I'm trying to get to 40%, but I'm not quite there yet. So I'm not abandoning REITs, right? But the issue is now that interest rates are like gravity, and higher interest rates logically means that risk assets will be repriced lower, all else being equal. And this wasn't the expectation just only a few months ago. This wasn't the expectation, and things have shifted very quickly. And we saw a crash in the bond market, which PIMCO say rivals the dot-com bubble crash in terms of magnitude, right? And REITs being bond-like would not be spared as well, and some might think that I've turned bearish because I said something like this, and that I'm throwing in the towel. But like I say, no, right? I'm still very much invested, and significantly so. In this video, I will say why I think I will buy more REITs, but when the time is right. Now be sure. Now, like I said, I'm not a guru. To be sure, I don't get it right all the time, and I cannot be exactly right either. If I can be approximately right most of the time, I'm happy, right? So now I'll use REIT Global as an example, because it's one of my largest investments when it comes to REITs, and also one of the more controversial ones, and people like to poke me when it comes to REIT Global. I mean, it can't be helped lah. People like to see other people suffer sometimes. But I'm not suffering. I don't feel like I'm suffering, okay? For the record, I would say that, and I'll tell you why. A viewer, in response to REIT Global's unit price declining, commented that I will soon see my capital wiped out. It doesn't matter how much REIT Global pays me, I will see my capital wiped out, right? And on both counts, I believe that the viewer is wrong, okay? Number one, I do not think that REIT Global will go to zero, okay? They have been prudent financially, prudent enough not to be overly leveraged, and if the 45% increase in asking rent for their Berlin property is anything to go by, and of course the lease was extended for 6 months at a much higher price, we know that now. If there's anything to go by, the office buildings held by REIT Global are not in the same boat as those held by Manulife US REIT, for example, right? So they are actually worth more, right? And number two, the unit price of a REIT does not reflect the underlying value of the assets held by the REIT, right? So the REIT's assets are worth more, right? And IREIT could simply sell the assets to unlock value if they wish to. Oh, sorry, I hate this when that happens. Okay, let's continue. The REIT simply could sell their assets to unlock value if they wish, and this was what Sizen REIT did so many years ago. For whatever reason, to those people who remember because they were selling some of their assets and at a premium to book value, right, to reduce debt. So IREIT could do that if they want to, but they don't have to. And number three, what does the viewer mean when he says it doesn't matter how much IREIT pay me? It matters, right? It matters how much income they pay me, because as an investor for income, this is very important to me. And if I were to view IREIT Global as an asset play, then it is already a buy, right? However, as an investor for income, I will need more margin of safety in the current day environment, right? Of interest rates staying higher for longer and how it could go even higher. So I would need a higher distribution yield for a greater margin of safety, which is why I say I'm just holding on to my investment and I'm not adding at this point. Right? In an earlier blog post, I said that I expect IREIT Global's income to improve in the next half year due to the expiration of rent-free periods for new leases which they sign, right? And also in the acquisition of the French out-of-town retail parks on long-term leases to B&M will be completed, right? So we'll see income increasing. However, I'm going to ignore all this expected improvement, which means DPU stays at around 1 euro cent per unit, and that roughly translates to 1.4 Singapore cents per unit per half year, or annualizing will give us 2.9 Singapore cents per year, right? This is a very bearish scenario, right? So if we expect something like this, then if risk-free rates in Singapore stays at around 3.5 to 4% per annum, and we demand 2 times that to compensate for risk, right? And that will give us 7% to 8% distribution yield that we would demand from IREIT Global. Now, if we demand 8%, then at 36 cents per unit, IREIT Global is already a buy, right? Because 2.9 cents DPU per year, 36 cents per unit gives us 8% distribution yield. Okay, but if we were to look further ahead, and that is their Berlin assets lease is expiring end of 2024, right? It's been extended at a higher asking rent, but higher rental rate, but is expiring end of 2024. And let us assume that that asset, Berlin property, stays vacant for many, many years. And that asset actually contributes to 20% of IREIT Global's income. So 2.9 cents per year, reduce that by 20%, we get about 2.3 cents per year. To get an 8% distribution yield, we will only buy IREIT Global at 29 cents per unit, 29 cents per unit, which means it's not a buy at 36 cents. Now, if we were to consider the possibility of interest rates increasing, like I said, it might happen in 2024. Let's say it goes up by 1%. So risk-free rate goes up by 1%. So let us say now we want the 9% distribution yield from IREIT Global in the most bearish scenario, where there's no rental improvement and where the Berlin asset stays vacant for years and years and years. Then, demanding a 9% distribution yield, we would only be buying at 26 cents per unit. So you see, this has not come to bear, but in my mind, I've already done all this calculation and tell myself at what price would I buy more IREIT Global, all else being equal, right? So I am still looking to add to my investment in IREIT Global and in all the REITs for the matter, all right? But the price has to be right. And when the price is right, is usually when Mr. Market think that the REIT is distressed, when it actually isn't in distress, right? Just that the unit price suggests that it's in distress, okay? So it's not die must buy at any price, but die must buy at certain prices, and we should know what those prices are in our mind and be prepared. Okay, but remember, these are my prices. They might not be your prices. You have to think it out for yourself and decide if this is good enough for you. Okay, if AK can talk to himself, so can you. Bye bye.